Are you with the shits? Because they are. Straight out of the Bronx. It's Haydee and Lexi. And you are now tuned into Ladies Pitch. Here's your host, Haydee Baby and Lexi, the motherfucking savage.
No, let me stop.
That was actually pretty good. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Ladies Pitch podcast. What's going on? This is your favorite mommy, Haydee Baby. And tonight I have with me a special guest, a very dear friend of mine, my boo, my bae. Boo, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, guys. It's Dory.
Hi, Dory.
Hi.
Dory. Dory is an alias, and we are gonna get back. We're gonna dig deep a little into why we nicknamed you Dory, because I'm pretty sure someone at work nicknamed you that, right?
I think it was Carl.
Okay.
I think.
What's going on, boo? How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just trying to get my life together. You know, like most people.
Right. I was gonna say, aren't we all? Any day now, my life will be together. I've been waiting 38 years for this moment.
Same, like shit.
When does it stop, right? When does it end?
Right, like what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
We need,
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what we need? We need sugar daddies with like, that don't want sugar. And just give us all their money.
I'm okay with a sugar daddy that doesn't want sugar, because I don't want to give my sugar away. My sugar is locked and just put away for now. So I get my life a little bit more together, and then my sugar will be spread. Not spreaded, but, you know, we'll spread to the...
I know, like, hey, yo.
Hey, yo, don't get the wrong idea, guys. Don't start DMing me down like... Yo, I want some of that sugar you spreading. But
oh my God, word.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm doing okay. No, I'll say that. We're gonna get straight into it. But before we do, guys, remember to like, subscribe, share, review the podcast on all streaming platforms. You can find Ladies Pitch on Instagram at Ladies Pitch and on Twitter, Pitch718. So you can find a podcast. You will find the Ladies Pitch podcast there. You already know. Dory, this is not your first. Is this your first time on Ladies Pitch? No. You were on our 100th episode.
Yeah.
Right? You was on our 100th
I've been on a couple, I think.
Wait. On 2, I believe. There was one where you were talking about jail sex. Post-jail sex.
Yes.
And then you was on our 100th episode. But I mean, like a one-on-one... you know, potting, talking shit vibe. You haven't been on Ladies Pitch. So this is your first time. It's actually just me and you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yay, I'm special.
This is gonna be good. Okay, so Dory, the name Dory. Tell the listeners as to why you are nicknamed Dory.
All right. So I am known for being forgetful. And not just like your regular run-of-the-mill forgetful. Like, literally, like Dory forgetful. Like, I'll have 20 conversations at the same time. And I will forget every single one.
She's not lying and she's not exaggerating.
I really am not. You always have to redirect me.
And when we say Dory, in case no one knows, we're talking about Dory from Finding Nemo.
Yes, the one that could only remember 10 seconds of her life.
Yeah, that's pretty much Dory. So Dory and I, we met at work, right? We used to work with one another. We met at work. I don't even remember how we met. I don't even remember our first account. You do? Look at that. She remembers.
Oh my God, I remember something. Yes. I remember because I used to, when I first started working there, I was working 4 to midnight. And you used to pick up OT doing appointments.
Oh, okay. Oh, so I was already on the morning shift. I was just doing overtime.
Yeah. So we were. So you would always be like, I would always happen to be in the front where you were. So that's how we became friends.
Okay. Yeah, and it was like a clique of us that everybody on that shift was like super cool with one another, and we were all like tight.
I know.
Yeah.
I loved it there.
Yeah.
I loved
It's not
it.
the
I miss
same.
it.
It's not the same.
I bet there's a bunch of weirdos now.
I wouldn't say all
Sorry
of
to
that.
whoever's listening that knew, but I mean, I'm just saying, like,
But
it was great when I was there.
it was a different vibe. It was a different clique. It was a different vibe. Like everybody first of all worked really well for the most part with one
Right.
another, and we just got along. Like whoever you
Mm-hmm.
worked with on that shift was like super fucking cool.
Right.
You
There
know,
wasn't no like.
there was
I
no
could only think of one
bullshit.
person. I could just think of one person, but even she was cool.
Yeah, I know exactly who that one person is, and she is super cool. But just
Yeah.
being super cool personally and just having poor work ethic are two different things, and it sucks because it's like I don't dislike you, I just dislike the way you work.
Right.
So that's
I
the
know,
difference.
right? And I feel like sometimes people can't differentiate that. Like they just feel like, oh my God, like I hate the way this person works. So they like automatically write them off. Like I just can't stand this person because they suck at work.
Yeah, there's a difference.
And
I used to
that's
work
unfair.
when I first started. I used to work the overnight shift, right? And my coworker at the time, it was me and this other guy. We became super cool, like super super cool. He used to call me brother, and I used to call him brother. That's how cool we got. But he sucked as a coworker. Like his work ethic was poor. He was lazy. He wouldn't take initiative. He just wouldn't do shit, and like it would fall on me, the work, all the fucking time, and I hate it. We would clash with that. But once we left work, like we used to go to lunch, and we used to go get lunch together in the middle of the night. Like he would drive me to the Heights to go get food. We would hang outside of work, mad cool. But when it actually came to working, he fucking sucked. He
Oh,
sucked
sucks.
ass. But I knew how to separate the two. Like he's a cool ass person, but comes to work, like
I just don't want to work with you.
I just don't want to work with you, but I had no choice. Like it was just me and him doing that specific work in the overnight, and I was like, oh God, but yeah. So that's the meaning behind the nickname Dory. So she's had that nickname for a few years, and the people that she still talks to at work and stuff like that, like we just all refer to her as Dory. That's it. We don't even call her by her real name.
Yeah, it just stuck. You want to laugh. So I was talking to Gabby. Gabby is my 8-year-old daughter, but she's like 8 going on, I don't know, 50.
She's an old soul.
And we were talking about stage names because I was like writing for my book or whatever. And I'm like, Mama, what do you think would be like a good last name to go with Dory? And I told her, I was like, I think I want to just name myself Vanessa Murphy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I told her, I was like, I think my stage name is going to be Vanessa Murphy. Like, that's going to be my alias or whatever for like, as an author.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, but why? And I was like, because I just don't feel like Dory Murphy kind of matches. So I think that maybe I should go with Vanessa Murphy. But I really like the last name Murphy, so I want it to be Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Is it because you love the bar Murphy's Law?
Yes.
We're going to get into that story about this past weekend because I went over to Connecticut to spend the weekend with Dory. We went out, we got wasted. We're going to get to that story because that shit was kind of nuts. So,
it was fun.
Yeah. So really quickly, you have a blog, right? Silent Confessions. Yes. You've had the blog for maybe like 6-7 months already, right? You've been blogging?
Yeah, since September. Mm-hmm.
And I commend you. First of all, I love your writing. I love how transparent you are in your writing.
Thank you.
And I have shed a few tears with some of your blog entries because I know that those were very personal and they were super vulnerable. And I always appreciate that. You know, I love me emotional shit.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so Silent Confessions, like, what was going through your mind when you decided to like start a blog entry and name it Silent Confessions? Like, what was your goal with starting this blog?
So when I started the blog, all right. So the name was just all right. So initially, I wanted the blog to be about my experiences in dating. Hence, the confessions part. Mm-hmm. But I had been thinking about that for a while. Just because, like, dating sucks. And to whoever's listening who hasn't heard before, I'm a widow. My husband passed. So it was the way that I was thinking about it was, this is my story post loss. Like, this is who I am now. And my very first entry is Welcome to the Shit Show, where I give you a brief introduction of how messy my life can get. And that was kind of like the whole thing behind the blog. And then it just slowly kind of just evolved. Like, it became more personal. It was more about like my experiences in general. And then it kind of just became like my journal. And every time that I just had big feelings and I had nowhere like for them to go, I would just put them down. I just started putting them on paper.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I don't know, here we are. And I don't ever want to let it go. And I think I have like 100 entries now.
No,
something like
you're
that.
actually very consistent with it. And I have my own blog that I started. And I'm not as consistent as you are. Like, the thing is that I love to write. I've always loved to write since I was a child. I had an English teacher in junior high school tell my mom that she should always encourage me to continue to write, because he just loved my writing. And I would simply write, like, when it came to writing, I was never like sugarcoating shit, sugarcoating my life, my feelings, and so forth. So it's very different, right, from potting. Even though it's a creative outlet, it's different from potting, because I feel like with my writing, I'm a lot more vulnerable and transparent as opposed to when I'm potting. It's weird. But
I agree.
yeah.
It's like, no, because it's a little bit more personal, because at the moment where you're putting it out there, it's like, it's yours. It's your baby. And you're just like, you're caring for it. And you want it to be perfect because, it's yours. It's your baby and you want it to be good before you release it out into the world, because you know that once it's out there, people are going to have opinions. And
for sure. And that's what I'm afraid of.
You might write about something that'll hurt feelings and stuff. You say you were afraid of what?
That's what I'm
hurting
afraid
feelings?
of. I don't want to, no, not hurting feelings. And I don't want to say opinions, because people's opinions about what I write about, I honestly don't give a fuck about. You know what I mean? And I care for, I'm very good at taking constructive criticism. I never get defensive and I'm like, no, but I'm all for hearing, you know what I'm saying? Like the constructive criticism from people that are supporting my work, clearly. You know what I mean? But, and even recently when I started the podcast, you know this very much, that I had someone, I actually wrote a very like personal and transparent blog entry, and I had a family member actually get very upset with me and like stop talking to me because they felt like I was talking shit about my mom. I wrote something personal that was for my grandmother, but I mentioned my mom in the blog entry, and this person got very upset and was like,
I remember.
Yeah, you remember, right? So that's, I guess, when you say hurting feelings, I might be just a little bit afraid of that, because my story is crazy. Like the people that know me, and I've shared a part of my life and a lot of stories that have happened to me and things that I've gone through in my life, they're like, yo, what the fuck? And since I was a teenager and things in my life were occurring, I always had my mind set on like, I wanted to write a book about my life. I wanted to write a book about my life. And not because I wanted to shit on anybody, but simply because I thought about how many other people out there in the world have experienced what I have experienced. And I've always wanted to like tell other people or reassure other people that like, yo, you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Because I wish that I would have had someone when I was going through that tell me, yo, it's going to be okay. Because when you're going through the shit you're going through, you never feel like it's going to be okay. You feel like you're just going to...
Right. You feel like you're drowning. And like there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I completely, I agree. I always liked writing, but I never thought of myself as, like, I never thought that I had like an actual story to tell. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe like recent years, you actually were the ones to be like, bitch, you need to write a book because of all my crazy stories. But to me, that was just my life. I didn't see them as crazy stories. It was just the things that I had been through.
Right.
Um, and I don't know. But then I started the blog and I started writing and I'm writing and I've been consistently writing and I started my book and I'm very excited about it. And I don't know how long it'll take me to finish it, but I already have a lot of material for it. I just got to kind of like put it together
Mm-hmm.
and then we will see how we go about publishing. Um, it's funny because I have a 19-year-old daughter, guys, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
That's my other
been,
daughter. Well, that's my
yeah, she
only
really is.
daughter.
And she's been dating, and I use that word loosely.
Mm-hmm.
This guy or whatever, he's like a music producer or whatever. So she was like, when your book is ready, give it to me so that I could give it to him because he knows publishers.
He has the
So I said,
connects.
okay. He has a connect. And then I got the same thing from her aunt, actually. So
Mm-hmm.
her aunt that lives in Florida, her younger sister is in publishing here in New
Okay.
York.
I think you should do it. I think you should do it. Like I said, you never know who you're gonna touch with your story. You know, you don't know what tough times someone is going through because I know a lot of your story and it is inspiring and it's inspiring because we don't realize how strong we are until we go through
We
all
have
these
to be. And so you
adversities.
have to be strong.
Yes, you don't know how strong you are until you have to be strong and you survive all these adversities and you survive everything that was meant to basically kill you, bring you down.
Mm, right, to break you.
So to break you. Exactly. And that's how I see it too with my story. And I actually, for the past like 2 years, I have been writing my story. It's so much that I don't even know like what to put in, what not to put in because it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And I always say and I always know that I would have to really like truly face the consequences if I ever go through with it and actually like publish a book about things because yeah, I've thought about like changing names, which is probably what I would do. Change a lot of names just so to protect the privacy of like certain
Nah, fuck
individuals.
that. So let
And
me tell
I don't
you.
want to be sued. Like I think about all of those
Nah, fuck
things.
that shit. So let me tell you about. All right. So when I started my blog and I started writing like all my reckless shit, I figured I was like, you know what? Some people are gonna like it. Some people are gonna love it. Some people are gonna hate it. Initially, I felt like if my in-laws ever came across my blog, they were gonna be really offended because I was very honest about what a piece of shit my husband was.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him. He was the love of my life, and I wish that he was still here. But he was a piece of shit. So I always felt like if my in-laws came across it, like they would have probably like some animosity or whatever. So the book that I'm writing is not my, like it's not my story, and I didn't change the names. I left the names as they are. I mean, you know this more better than anybody. I started writing about like I don't know, I don't want to call it a relationship because it's really not a relationship, but just somebody that I've been seeing for the last few months or whatever. And I was in love, and you know this, I was in
I
love,
know.
and
I know.
I used to, like, he was my inspiration for everything.
Oh, he was
And
your muse for sure.
yes, he really was. I had so much, like, I had written so much to this man, either about him or for him, or just like things that I liked about him, or like the reasons why I loved him. I wrote poetry for this fucking guy. Like, I just wrote so much stuff for this guy. And so what I decided to do is I am going to use all of that material, and I'm just going to so I started writing about how we met to kind of tie into all the other things that I wrote, because I figured that I'm going to make it kind of like I don't know, not so much like a conversation, but I want it to be like, my perspective and the reasons why I wrote the things that I wrote to him at each particular time when I wrote it. I don't know if it's going to be, New York Times bestseller or anything like that, but that is where my inspiration lies right now.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? This is your girl, Haydee Baby, one third of the Ladies Pitch Podcast, and I'm here to give you a quick rundown about Anchor by Spotify. So basically, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need, all in one place. So here's how it works. Anchor lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to the most popular listening platforms, including Spotify, with just a single tap. Anchor is also the only place you can publish video podcasts to Spotify. So with Anchor, creators can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now let's go on with the episode.
So, Dory, I was fortunate enough to read the first 3 chapters of this book that you're working on. And in chapter 1, you brought up something that I've never heard before, and you used a term that I've never heard before, and that's widow's fire. Do you want to explain exactly like what that is?
Okay, so I had never heard about it before either. It's something that I learned from like my grief support groups or whatever, and it is actually like it's like this insatiable craving for sex. It's like this uncontrollable urge that you just can't get enough. Like you literally feel like your vagina's on fire. Like you need to come like 100 times in a day. And I used to feel guilty about it because I'm like, I should be sad. I shouldn't be horny. But then I learned that it was normal. And then I didn't feel so bad anymore because it's really bad. It's like I used to masturbate like, oh my God, like 6, 7 times a day, maybe more. And it's like
Six
I
or
would come,
seven
but
times a day?
yeah, and it's like I would come and it wouldn't be enough, and I would keep going, and I would come again, and it was just never enough. Yeah, it's some crazy, crazy stuff. And then eventually I moved on. I thought I was gonna break my rose because it was heavily overused. Um, but then yeah, and then I moved on to like real penises, and then I was okay.
Well, I remember the last time that you were on Ladies Pitch, we were talking about the hammer toy. And
Mm,
you were talking about like vaginal and anal penetration, and we were like, girl, like your shit is gonna be numb.
nah,
um,
I have a clitoris of steel.
yeah, yeah, that was the first time that I've ever heard of that term, but it makes sense because I've seen like in movies and stuff like that. Like, remember Wedding Crashers? The guy used to crash weddings. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm sorry, not crash weddings. Well, they crash weddings clearly, wedding crashers, but the guy used to crash funerals. And he would go after women that had just like lost their husbands. But now it kind of makes sense because it's like, oh shit, like women
Yeah,
are
I
really
don't.
horny
It's
after
I
losing their
think it's just
husbands.
like your body's response to the stress. I don't know. Maybe it's like a toxic thing. I don't know if it happens to everybody.
Hmm.
Um,
Was that
so,
happening to other women in the support group?
hell yeah. Oh my God. So many. Um, and at first I used to see like, because all right, so it was like a Facebook support group, and I'll start by saying this, like, I loved it because everybody in that group knew exactly the way that I felt. And it's something that is like, unless you've gone through it, you can't really relate. Like, you can empathize with the person, but you can't really relate because it's like, it's a major loss. Like, you lose everything, like your best friend, your partner, everything. So it's like, even though I would like talk to like my friends and vent and whatever, and I would journal and the therapist and whatever, it nothing felt better than when I would participate in the grief group, because they knew exactly what I meant. They knew exactly what I felt. They just knew it all. So I would always see like some of the women would post like, like crazy case of widow's fire right now or whatever. And I used to be like, what the hell is that? And then I would go through the comments until I finally learned what it was. And I was like, oh, like that's what's happening to my body. Um, and yeah, it's very much a real thing. It's
That is crazy.
I don't know. And I say that it might be a toxic thing because I remember like with my husband, whenever we were like when sad things happened or whatever, like our automatic response was sex.
But you know what it
Like
is? It's just it's just the feeling that you feel after sex. It's you feel good.
the release, I
Yeah,
guess.
the release, you feel good, like you feel your mind is clear, like so I guess that it's that feeling that you feel afterwards. So when you're sad, when something is going wrong or whatever, sex or masturbation can make you feel so much better. But it's temporary,
Yeah, I mean,
It's a temporary thing for me.
yeah, I guess.
You know what has happened to me after masturbation? I want to get like a specialist or someone like a sex therapist or someone in that field on the podcast. What has happened to me? I've cried after masturbating.
Really?
I've cried after sex before too. It's only happened like maybe like twice, but is a long time ago. It happened before. And I'm not talking about like a cry, like an ugly cry, like, "Ugh." No, it's just like an overwhelmed feeling of emotions. And I just,
Yeah, that's never happened to me.
yeah, it has. And I'm actually trying to think back if the sex was actually that great for me to cry. And if I had to think about it, then it probably wasn't. But at that moment, I don't know. I might have probably been going through something in particular at that time and just,
Maybe.
yeah, just the orgasm just took it over the edge.
What
I'm
you
not
just
sure.
said reminded me of this thing that I was reading this article the other day on Rachel Bilson. She's the girl from remember that movie Jumper?
Yes.
She's the girl from
I know who
Jumper.
she is. Yeah.
Um, and she has a podcast and she interviewed somebody else, and that other person was saying how she had never orgasmed during sex until she was 40, and Rachel
What?
told her, like I can totally relate because I, like she couldn't come from sex either until she was 38. And I was just like, when I first read it, I was like, I would hate to be like one of those guys, one of the guys that she fucked, because my manhood would be like on the floor
Her
after that.
ego.
Like, damn. Yeah, like, yo, that means that she probably faked it or I don't even know. But I was just like, damn.
So
I
we're
feel
gonna
like it's crazy.
delve a little deeper into that. But let me just ask you a quick question. Have you ever had sex with someone where you didn't orgasm, but the sex was still amazing? Or do you
Yeah.
need an orgasm for the sex to be
No,
considered amazing?
no. I've had good sex that didn't end. If I'm too drunk, I won't come.
Wow.
Yeah. If I'm
That
too
happens
drunk,
to
I
men
won't
though. I've
come.
heard that. That's
Yeah.
happened to
Oh
men too.
God, yes. That happened. That actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago, where he was too drunk and he couldn't come, and I was dying, girl. I was like, I was ready to give up. I was just like,
He was hard the
yo,
entire time.
no, like it was like on and off, and then it's like, I'm like, yo, my jaw was like, bitch.
So your
And
clit
it was just like,
is made out of steel, but not your jaw.
bro, like shit.
Yeah.
But then eventually he did, and I'm like, finally. But I was so tired after. I was just like, dude. But yes,
For me, yeah, for me it can be great, but just the orgasm is just like, oh,
well,
oh
of course,
no,
that's like
yeah,
your over the
that's the
top,
goal. So,
right?
and if I have
Exactly.
multiple, it's even great. But no, I have had amazing sex where I didn't orgasm. It's rare because for me, for me overall, like I have to have some sort of like connection. And this is something that like my guy friends make fun of me over because they want me to just be a dude and just be like, yeah, I have great sex, or everybody I fuck with. No, but I have to have some sort of connection, right? So when I already have, let's say, before the sex, that mental connection, and then we have sex, and then it's that physical connection. Like everything is intertwined, and I'm like it just makes the sex so much better for me, I guess, when there's
No,
that
I agree.
connection.
I
You,
agree. I agree.
yeah, it makes it so much better. So sometimes for me, during foreplay, like I'm ready to orgasm. It's crazy. Like if I'm really like in tune with that person, with their body, and they're in tune with mine, literally you can just sit there and just like stare at me, and I could probably orgasm on myself. I'll come on
Oh,
myself.
you're crazy.
Yeah. No, seriously.
No,
Like it
no.
like I like for
I need
that
to
to be
tell-
that intense. It's insane the way the way that the right person could really like turn me on. It's crazy. I can orgasm from like giving you head. Like
Oh,
if
me too.
yeah, if that I'm like
Yeah,
it has to be on
I
that
can
level
do
though.
that. Yeah, I get
Mhm.
that has happened to me before too.
Yeah.
You know, one time I came from a guy sucking on my toes.
Yeah, of course.
I was very surprised because I'm not a feet person,
Mhm.
and yo, I have this thing with feet that like I just hate feet. Like I can't. I just don't like feet. Like nobody's feet. I struggle with my kids' feet because they're my kids, but fuck, do I
Damn.
hate feet?
You struggle with the little humans that you pushed out? Damn, you
Yeah,
really hate feet.
yo, I hate feet. I hate feet. So when this guy said, you know, like, like I want to suck on your toes, I was very hesitant because I'm just like, ew, like no. But he did it, and it was, girl, I was like, did I just come? Like, did that just happen?
I feel like
But it was
every
just that one
woman,
time because I still hate feet.
I
I
feel
still hate
every
feet.
woman should experience that though, at least once. That's some real freak shit though. That's got to come
It's,
from like a real freak dude.
yeah.
Because a lot of guys are freaks, so they claim to be freaks, and everybody's definition of what they consider freaky is different. So, because you like to spank me and occasionally choke me, like I don't even consider that shit freaky.
Yeah, that's just, I feel like that's kind of like regular now and it's kind of
Yeah,
standard.
that's a regular Friday night. Like, dude, what are we doing?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. My current sex partner was very vanilla. I've told you that before.
We've had this
He was very
conversation.
vanilla. But it's funny because in the beginning, like it was vanilla in terms of variety,
hmm
but it was so good. I was like, yeah, I could just have vanilla sex forever because it was that good.
hmm
Which is rare for me because I want to do all the crazy shit.
hmm
Um, but of course, I entered his life, and now he is no longer vanilla.
What? Now he's 21 flavors, like Baskin
Hell yeah,
Robbins.
it's so funny. I find it hilarious, and it's like,
Did you ever tell him that you considered him vanilla at
um,
first?
no. I mean, I wrote about it, and he read it, but I never like actually told him. Well,
Mm.
you know what? That's not true. I think a few weeks ago, I mentioned something like, I take credit for the way that you have sex now or whatever, because like in the beginning, you didn't do all of these things that you do now.
And you know what's crazy about that? Once you unlock those features, you never want to go back to being how you were
Yep.
before. And I'm going to
Hmm.
say that I must speak for myself because once I got a taste of like some real freaky nasty shit, that's it. Like that was on the resume. Like that was something that was required with my next partner. You need to do that. Like that's the only way that I'm going to actually feel 100% like sexually satisfied. Like I cross that off.
I
Okay, now
know.
you gotta be able to do this. Next, now you
Yeah.
gotta be able to do that. So shoot, I can tell you the first time that a guy spit in my mouth, it was something that was never it was never even spoke about
ever. He never said, I want to do this. I never had any interest in it. I don't even remember. And I'm just going to go back a little bit when you said about the podcast you was listening to with Rachel. Wasn't it Rachel Blyson?
Yeah.
So when she encountered her first orgasm in her 30s, I can definitely say that I unlocked a lot of those features in my sex life in my 30s. For sure. And after my relationships, like not even in my relationships did I unlock those features. None of them did.
Oh, well, no, I unlocked a lot of shit in my marriage.
Yeah, even with my recent ex, I unlocked those features in him. You know, like I want to say, like I told him a lot of stuff in the bedroom, but it was afterwards, after the relationship, me being single, there was a particular person that unlocked all of those features in me. And like I said, spitting in the mouth, like that was nothing that was talked about. I would never like express any interest in it, but it was being in the moment. We had that connection and it was like, boom, it happened. And I was like, oh, you're nasty.
You know what's crazy?
Like,
that
damn,
it was
do it again.
for me. No, right, exactly. So I hooked up with this guy. I don't know. I guess it was like during my widow's fire phase or whatever. But I hooked up with this guy, and that was the nastiest sex I ever had, and that's recent. I mean, I'm 36. I was 34. And it was the nastiest sex I ever had. Literally the nastiest sex I ever had. Like you said, I never had any interest in like the whole spitting thing. Like it was just like so crazy. But then when he did it, it was just like, oh, we like this. Okay. Um, yeah, no, he was very,
Right, that
he
was
was
the
very,
first thing.
he was very open. It's so funny. I nicknamed him the spitter.
Yes,
That's why his name is the spitter.
yes. So so
Um,
I think that happens for a lot of women though, and I think it's because we don't really know. Like when we first start having sex, and I started having sex for the first time like as a teenager. So you
mhm.
know, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. The person you're having sex with is also like, I'm gonna assume is around your age. They don't really know what they're doing. They're not all for pleasing you. They're just for pleasing themselves just to get that nut. They don't even think about nutting
Yeah.
more than once. It's very
Mhm.
selfish. The sex is very selfish when you first start, especially if you start at a young age. Then as you
Right.
get
But
older, you start learning your body. You start learning what you want with
and what you like.
experience and what you like.
Mhm.
And then you start like, and then you get with that man that's actually into pleasing you. And there are men that make it all about you during sex.
Yeah,
And
boy.
then you're able to, I get it. There's a lot of selfish lovers, yo. There really
I
are a
know.
lot of selfish lovers. And
Yeah.
it sucks because I consider myself a pleaser.
Me too.
So
Me too. Like
you can't say
it
I'm a damn
brings me
selfish
like
lover.
it brings me pleasure to pleasure the other person. Does that make
Yeah, for
sense?
sure. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just it's so I don't know. And I feel like it's not common. Like I can tell you, all right, when I was 15, my second boyfriend was who is my daughter's father now. And he was the first guy I ever gave head to. And I was very hesitant because I'm like, oh my God, like that's not supposed to go in your mouth. But he taught me. He told me what to do. And it's so funny because I remember that the very, very first time, I used to think like, all right, if we have to do this, then we have to like, I don't know, like make it pleasurable somehow or whatever. Like, like this is something that he likes and this is something that he wants. And I'm like, all right, how do I do this? So I started picturing like if I was sucking on a lollipop, literally, like if I was sucking a lollipop. And I don't know, that seemed to work for me. He enjoyed it, and it is what it is. And at first, I never swallowed. I used to spit that shit out. I used to be like, oh no, like those are babies. Like there's just so many things that I like. I used to say like no, like I wouldn't do that or whatever, and I fucking
Mhm.
love that shit now.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
so
tell
do
my
I.
daughter that now because, she's 19 and she's active and she's like, oh, I'm never doing that and I'm never doing this and I'm never doing that.
Oh,
And I
we
was like, you say
always
that
say
now,
that.
like, bitch, wait till you're like 30.
Yeah.
I'm like, like that stuff doesn't come now. That comes when you're older.
Yeah, for sure. I think I gave head for the first time when I was 18. I was 18 and it was my boyfriend at the time. And then I got into my first relationship at 19 and we were together for 8 years and he literally yeah, he literally was like he never came from head. It's crazy. In 8 years that we were together, he never came from head. He was one of those.
Crazy. You know what's
Mhm.
funny? When guys tell me that, I always feel like it's like a line. Like they're just dropping a line because it's like, because they want you to like, I guess, take it as a
At,
challenge and do it.
at times, I believe so, and I have encountered men that don't. And that don't get me wrong, that doesn't make me feel any type of way. Like, oh my god, my skills are trash. It's just every man is different. Every man likes head differently too. Not every
Yeah.
man likes head the same. You know what I mean? So it's all about learning like what that person likes, what they don't like. And I like to push buttons. I definitely like to push buttons and see like how far I can go with pleasing you. Like, okay, let me do this or let me do that. All right, if he likes it. And like I be testing. I be trying to push those boundaries. Like they'll be like, no, I don't do that. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can take you there where you at least allow me to just do it a little bit, And at times it works, times it doesn't. They're like, bitch, I tell you I don't do
I
that.
feel like it's, so for me, it's more, I unleash my freaky side, I guess, during like texting, like sexting or like phone sex or whatever. Like the nastiest thing that I could think of or whatever. That'll be like what I'll write or what I'll say. Um, and depending on what their reaction is, then I know that it's something that like it's like either a green light or a red light. Like, okay, we can do that based on like whatever the reaction is to like the message or whatever. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Sexting for me doesn't come to like after we have sex. I can't sex with you before.
I can, but it's
I
just like
can't.
not thinking. Like if it's somebody that like I don't know, like I don't know. I'm a nasty bitch. I could My imagination is crazy, and I just be thinking about like the way that it felt with somebody else because I don't know how this person is gonna make me feel yet if we haven't slept together yet.
Mm. That's
So
why
I
I
just
can't sext because then you know what it is. I'm gonna start building like a sexual expectation, and then after we have sex for the first time, if it doesn't like meet those expectations, I'm just like that. So you know
yeah,
what's
but that's
sexy,
okay.
right? And
I
it
feel,
is, but I'm just like, oh, I'm not gonna want to do it with you again. Just be like
and
blah.
that's okay, and that's when you let them go. That's perfectly fine.
Right. So that's why for me, it's like I don't know. I guess I want to be like intrigued from what I want to be intrigued by what I don't know, if that makes any sense. So for example, I want to go
You
based off,
embrace the unknown.
yes, the mystery behind not knowing. Like there are certain men that exude a crazy amount of sexual energy and they never have to open their mouths. It's like you've never
Yeah.
seen a man like that. Like you can
Oh
just
yeah.
tell that it's something about him that he's like, yo, he will fucking put my fucking body through the bed like crazy. But he does not. He never says a word. Like that's the type of
Yeah.
shit I like because I want
I
to
know.
find out if I'm right. And I'm more intrigued by that. So for me, sexting, and I like do the air quotes, sexting for me before I actually have sex with you would be just like having a conversation, just like a intellectual conversation, I would say. Like that to me is more interesting at first.
This is why I like meeting people in person. So
Yeah.
the only guy that I've ever like, well, I can't. All right. So post loss, um, I was definitely going through my widow's fire here. I made an appointment for my boys to get a haircut, and I went or whatever, first time there or whatever. And when I went and I asked for the guy, I just nigga, I melted, yo. I swear to God, I feel like I
The barber?
melted. Yeah. And then I was just like, damn. And then whatever, but it was during COVID. Everybody had masks on or whatever, but there was something in the way that he looked at me, like beyond the mask. Like it was like flirtatious looks. I can't even explain to you what it was, but there was
Nah, I
just
get
this
it.
like there was this pull, towards him or whatever. So we ended up exchanging numbers or whatever for, you know, barber purposes, supposedly, air quotes. Um, and I remember that same day, like later on in the day, and I texted him and I was like, hey, I'm sorry if this is really forward, but are you single? Like, I would like to ask you out or whatever. And he was like, oh, I'm flattered, but I'm married. And I was like, oh, of course you are. Um, and I personally don't care, but I respected the fact that that was the first thing he told me. And I was like, all right, so that means
He's like,
that,
listen, bitch, I'm married,
he
but I'm
said, like,
saying.
right, like he set that boundary for me. So I was like, okay, it is what it is. And then it was just like kind of like professional or whatever for a little bit. And then I went to Florida. And while I was in Florida, he started texting me. And at first I was like, I don't know, it was kind of like walking on eggshells a little bit because it was like, I don't know how far I can go. So it was like pushing, but very little. So he was like texting me and he would like send me pictures and then he would ask me for pictures. And then one day I was just like, like a few weeks ago, you turned me down because you're married and now you're here texting me. So what does this mean? And he was like, I don't know. He was like, there's just something about you and I want to know more. And I was like, okay, well, same. Like, there was just
Did she show him
something.
more?
I did, but it wasn't until like months later. Months later. I don't know. We kind of just built like a friendship and we would talk and, whenever I would take my boys for haircuts or whatever, like we just got like really, really cool. And then he separated from his wife. And when he separated from his wife, he became more consistent in like reaching out to me and stuff. And he told me about like whatever he was going through or whatever. And, it happened. It finally happened. And it was everything I expected it to be.
Really? Why did I think you were going to give a bad review?
No, it was everything I expected it to be.
Okay.
And we still talk, he's still my barber and now he's divorced and he moved out or whatever, but he's like his focus is on, which is something that I really fucking love about him, is just his drive and his ambition.
Oh, I love that too. I love that.
Fucking love it. Like he's a firefighter full time. The barber thing is a side job. And then he's always like taking classes to like do better and be better. And he like wants to open his own business. And I just love that drive in him, and like we have amazing conversations and, the sex is awesome. And I'm just like, whenever you're ready, like I'm right here, Cause
put my fire out, baby.
Not even like it's even like I appreciate him. I appreciate him. And I was going through like a really tough time a few weeks ago and he happened to reach out to me and we were talking or whatever. And I told him about like what I was going through and whatnot. And he was like, you're going to be fine. Like everything is going to be okay. And he was like, just, like take care of yourself or whatever. And then he put, I love you at the end. And at first I didn't know how to like.
Did he say, I love you or love you?
No, difference. I love you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, I'm like, let me not, like me being who I am, like I overthink, but I I was like, V, like, don't overthink it. You know, like, he's being supportive because, you know, you guys are friends or whatever. So I just wrote, I love you too. And I left it at
Right.
that because, you know.
There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like some people are just so afraid to tell one another that they love one another. And it doesn't have to be like a romantic, oh my God, I want to be
Right,
with
like
you
a
forever.
in love thing.
But when you have like a certain love, care, respect for someone, like life is too short, man. Like, listen, I love you, you know, whatever. I love you, whatever it may mean. But it's like, I never, like, the way life is, and because I know how certain things have happened in my life and other people's lives, like, you never sometimes have that last, like, chance to tell someone how you feel.
Mhm.
Like, yo, I appreciate you. I respect you. Like, I love you. Like, thank you for being there. Thank you for, you know, being part of my support system or whatever it may
Right.
be. So he knew you were having a tough time during that period. You know, what that would have done for you. You know what I mean? To be like, yo, I'm here for you. Like, I love you, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that's dope.
I don't know. He's my. I don't know. I don't even know like what to call him. Sometimes I don't even like consider him like anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just like I don't want to set myself up for failure. Like I know that I like him, and I know that like if we were to ever like decide to start something, it would be great because like compatibility wise, like it's there, like it's all there in every sense of the
What
word.
sign
Like
is he?
he's a Scorpio.
Do I have a sound effect for that? Hold on. I think I might have one for you.
Oh my god.
Steer
No,
clear. Steer clear. He's a firefighter too.
no,
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm not joking
no.
about the boo, but I'm joking about telling you to steer clear. I have
Yeah,
to be
no,
toxic
he's
for a minute because you say he's a firefighter, and I swear to God, what are firefighters, police officers, and now that I've had my experience with a paramedic, I could never. I couldn't. I couldn't personally. I feel like they're the biggest fucking thoughts, yo.
I don't know. I feel like it really depends on the person. Like I don't know. That's something
Bruh.
else that I really like about him.
I'm
It's
like,
just that
bruh.
he's very like no bullshit and he's honest and I like that. Like
Mhm.
and then he has this like calming presence and it's something that it's always been there and you know how I am. I am dramatica and you know
Translation,
fucking
she's dramatic for my
yeah,
non-Spanish
I am
speaking.
dramatic and impulsive and I'm crazy. And just to sum it up, I'm like kind of crazy. And he's like, he mellows me out and he'll be like, you need to chill.
No, I get it.
And
Yeah. I need to be
I'm the
with
kind of
someone like
person
that
that needs
too.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I need
exactly. Like
somebody with
I
a
can't be
calming
with
nature.
somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't be with somebody that's going to be just as impulsive as I am
Yeah.
because then we're just going to self destruct. And I think that that's what's happening with my current partner. We bring out like that side in each other and it's great in the moment, but then it's like it's toxic and it's impulsive and I don't know, it's addicting.
I need that calming nature. That's a must.
Yeah.
It needs to be a good balance of like you're in touch with your emotions, you know, but you also have that logical, rational, calming side to you where you're able to like tell me, listen, you're doing too much right now. Like I need you to
Yep.
bring it down.
Like you out of 10, I need you out of
Yeah, you're
2.
out of 10. Like I need you out of 2. Like I respond very well to that. Cause
Me too.
I was with someone for 8 years that when I was on 10, he was on 20. When he was on 20, I was on 30. So you
Ooh.
can imagine how that shit went. It was chaos 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but most of the time it was chaos. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when you have that good balance, that when you're at a 10 and that person is at a 2, they can bring you down to at least a 4 and you're able to just be well balanced, then it's cool. Like I respond well to that because you
Yeah.
kind of like bring me back to like center. Like, yo, listen, We here now.
It makes you think. It makes you like analyze yourself.
Yeah,
it makes you analyze yourself. Like, okay, maybe I am doing too much. Like, let me chill.
Yeah, for sure.
But then there are times where it's just like, fuck it, I don't want to chill. I want to wreak havoc. Is that just me?
No, that's, you know what it is? You and I are both comfortable in chaos. It's crazy.
It's so bad.
I tell my therapist that I'm like, most of my life, most of my childhood, I want to say from like, and I'm going to go as far back as I can remember, from the age of 3 all the way to like when I left my house at 17, my household was chaos 85% of the time. And that shit feels so, I don't know, it feels comforting to me. So when things are just too peaceful, I try to like, and this is very self-sabotaging, I try to create the chaos that doesn't exist and doesn't need to exist, because it's perfectly okay for you to, live a peaceful life or try to create a peaceful life for yourself and create these boundaries where you make sure you live in that peace. And I'm just doing that now. I'm doing that now at the age of 38, 37, 38. And it's hard at times. Like I go back to it and I see myself doing it. And it's work. It's work because you have to break that shit. You got to break that shit because it's not normal. And all you're going to do is wreak havoc and freaking create chaos with everything. And that's the majority of that's how it's been in my life. My mom is chaotic as fuck. Both my parents are chaotic as fuck. And they made me, they conditioned me to think that shit is normal. And
my mom is chaotic, but she's toxic in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. And these are a lot of the conversations that we've had. And I've always wanted to create an episode. And I've told you about just, because I have a lot of friends where our parents have a lot of things in common, either narcissistic ways or extremely toxic parents, and just it's crazy. It's crazy, yeah. And then those are the things now that at times, with some of the things I've learned in therapy, with my mom, and I've tried to have conversations with her and try to tell her how a lot of those things has affected me now as an adult woman. She takes no accountability.
No.
She is allergic to accountability. What?
Right. It's like they take it as it's like this personal attack because they see things differently.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain to my mom that, and I'm like, listen, just because you feel this doesn't mean that I feel the same. Remember, we are two different people. And even though we experience certain things together, we also experience them individually. So what you see is not what I see. And what you feel is not what I feel. And, you need to understand that. But that bitch never gets nothing. She never understands.
Yeah, my mom is the same way. And it's a broken record. I'm just like, yo, I've accepted the fact that I tell my therapist, listen, my parents are old. They're stuck in their ways. Nothing I say, nothing I do will ever, they'll never take accountability for this shit. And it's really not even my responsibility at this point, but it is my responsibility to set boundaries and not allow them to continue to be toxic with me. I don't have to deal with that shit just because you guys are my parents. That's how I see it. She doesn't understand that when I tell her that. I'm like, yo, to be completely honest, I'm not a child anymore. I'm an independent woman. I live on my own. I have my own life. I don't have to deal with your toxicity. I really don't. So the minute there are times that I go without speaking to my mom because she starts that bullshit. And I'm just like, click. I hang up the phone on my mother. I give 0 fucks. I will hang up the phone on her. And she'll be like, you're so disrespectful. And I'm like, no, you're reaching a place where you're triggering me. And you're triggering me to be toxic and disrespectful. And before I get there, because I'm going to be really mad at myself if I get out of my zone. So let me discontinue this call. We'll talk at a different time when we're able to actually have an actual adult conversation. And I will hang up the motherfucking phone on her. Listen, to be totally honest, the last time I spoke to my mom was back in November. We're currently not speaking because I created these boundaries where I refuse to have these conversations with her. Not even conversations, these arguments, because she wants to argue. I'm not doing it. You're not fucking up my day. Like that day I was actually having a great day. And she actually did get me out of my zone a bit. And I was so mad that I was crying afterwards. Like, fuck, why did I feed into it? Like, I already know how she likes to trigger me. Why did I do it to myself?
Isn't it crazy though?
Yeah. And I immediately, like, after I hung up on her, like, I cried. I'm like, fuck. I legit, it was my day off. I was having a great day. I was having a great morning. Here she comes with her bullshit. And yeah, and that was the last time I spoke to her. Like, I know that she's doing good or whatever, like, clearly through family and stuff like that. But, like, she won't reach out to me and I won't reach out to her. And it's like, you're the parent. You already know how I feel.
Isn't it crazy, though, how it's like they just know. Like, it's like, whatever. I hate that. I feel like they just need to do better.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that my mom now at her big old age, like, you know, she had a very traumatic experience back in 2021. I don't think I shared this story on the podcast, but my mom was like a victim of like a random shooting, and she was caught like in the crossfire or whatever, and she was shot in the leg. So
oh my God.
Yeah, she was shot in the leg, and well, like, yeah, her leg around her knee. And that knee, she had knee replacement surgery, like I believe like 2 years before. So luckily it missed like the plate that she has on her knee.
Yeah.
And it went right through. The bullet went right through. Long story short, she suffered from a lot of PTSD afterwards, you know, a lot of nightmares, a lot of things that happen with, you know, going through a traumatic experience like that. And as also because 4 other people were shot and one of them died. Like someone that was like dropped dead right next to her where she fell.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
Yeah, so she lives with that could have been me. And he was an 18-year-old guy. So, you know, she was like, that could have been me. And I can say that I'm just, I don't know, like it all started because she felt a way that I didn't have the emotional reaction to it that she wanted me to have, I guess you can say. And I remember like we had a really big argument because she was like, you don't care what happened to me. Like, I guess she was saying like I didn't cry. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why do you want me to? And I'm not going to say that I didn't. Of course, that's my mother. I love her to death. It was crazy. But at the same time, I was extremely happy and grateful the fact that she was okay. She was okay as in she was alive. I knew she wasn't okay emotionally and mentally. I knew that was going to be, you know, a process for her to get better because I knew she was going through my shit afterwards. But I mean, like, she was alive. You know what I mean? So it became this thing where she was like, you don't care what happened to me. And I'm like, bro, I live in Jersey and I'm here in your house, like helping you do things because you can't freaking walk. Like,
right. Yeah.
What do you mean I don't care? You have to look at the bigger picture, like how I'm showing you that I care. You know?
Yeah, no, it has to be their way.
Yeah, I have to show the care in her way. Like, she wanted me to be like, you know, like my younger brother and be crying. And yeah, he feels differently because he's far away in a different state. And he couldn't be here and he's not here with you. So he has a different, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had a different reaction to it. But shit, your husband is not here crying with you. Like, why are you not getting on him? Why are you getting on me? Like, shit, it's okay because he's a man. Like, no, shit. You know, I'm grateful and I was happy the fact that you were alive, especially when someone that was shot with you is dead. Some mother right now is grieving her 18-year-old son. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I put it to her. And I'm like, yo, don't tell me that I don't care when I'm fucking here. You know?
Right, you're fine.
Right. But anyway, yeah, that's just, we'll have a whole different episode. I actually wanted to have like, and I think I expressed it to you, like I wanted to have like a panel. I wanted to make it like a panel where it'll be like visuals and we can all kind of just give our story. And I wanted to have like different people, like, you know, a man, a woman, a parent, because different perspectives of like what it was. And
I think that we should do it because I feel like I actually just had this conversation with my therapist, and she was like, you know, like I've always said that what I learned from my parents is the kind of parent I didn't want to be. And I parent way differently than my mom ever did. And I just, you know, like, yeah, sometimes I have, like, my biggest fear is to fail as a mom, you know. So I do my best and I try my best, and I talk to them the way that I wish somebody would have talked to me when I was little or when I was their age. I'm honest, and I just tell them shit exactly how it is. And my husband didn't agree with that. We had many arguments where he just felt like, you know, they shouldn't know about that or whatever. You know, like how little kids, you tell them, like, once they start like figuring out their bodies or whatever, you tell them, oh, like, that's your pee-pee or whatever, and like things like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I never did that. I always called their parts by what they were. And my husband would just be like, why are you doing that? And I was like, because that's what it is. So when my two little ones, they're 2 years apart, and when my son, like, he I guess, like, once he noticed that like Gabby had something different, he asked me, why does her penis look different?
Yeah.
And I was like, because she doesn't have a penis, she has a vagina. And he was like, but why? And I'm like, because she's a little girl and you're a little boy. Because you know, they're not born knowing anything. And what they learn
is where they're curious.
Yeah, no, but they learned what we teach them. So it's like, me growing up, it was always like, that was very taboo. It was very like, no, like, you're not even allowed to talk like that or about things like that. Like, don't even look at her, or, you know, like, it was just so bad.
No,
like, it was something that was like really bad. And I just feel like they just need to understand. If you explain to them, they will understand, and it won't be so like crazy and you know, whatever.
Yeah, same
I don't
here.
know. That's just me.
Yeah, my parents were the same way. Talking about sex was like taboo, you know? The most my mom ever spoke to me about was like when I got my period for the first time. Other than that, like, she gave me like one conversation, and that was it.
I never got
and, like,
one. And my mother swears that she did. Listen, my mother swears that she talked to me about sex. My mom never talked to me about sex.
No.
One time, they said the word prostitute in a novela, and she beat my ass for repeating it.
Meanwhile, you have no idea what it meant. It's just like, just don't say it.
Exactly. All I did was repeat it. Yeah. And she beat the shit out of me for that. So, and she never talked to me about sex. Everything that I learned about sex, I learned on my own. So with my kids, I didn't want that. So I started talking to like my two big ones. I started talking to them about sex like right away.
Mm-hmm.
I did tell my daughter though, like when she first got her period, I was like, now that you have your period, you can't, you know, you have to be very careful if you decide to have sex. Like, I never told them don't have sex, because I feel like when they say don't have sex, that's when they
you want it
go
more.
and do it. Mm-hmm. Right. So I never said don't have sex. I used to just, you know, like my conversation with her was always, if you have sex, be safe. You know, like, and I
like
did
an
try to scare her.
Thing.
Yes, but I did try to scare her in the beginning, and I was like, now that you got your period, you know, if you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant. So don't have sex unless you're ready to be a mom. And
you
she just gave me this look.
You gotta do it like the gym teacher from Mean Girls. Don't have sex, because if you have sex, you get chlamydia and die.
Yeah.
That's that was how my mom spoke about sex. Like, just don't do it. Just don't ask me why. Just don't do it. Trust me. I'm like,
it's crazy.
Okay, but yeah, it was the same thing with me. Listen, It was growing up, my parents found a problem if I had a friend of the opposite sex. Okay?
Oh, God.
Like, it was this big thing where, like, oh, if I had like a guy friend or whatever, like for the most part, for as long as I can remember, I always liked being with guys because I had an older brother. Most of my cousins were like, they were all guys for the most part until my aunt finally had another girl. But I was surrounded by boys. So I had this tomboy shit to me. I was rough. I was aggressive like a boy. Like my brother we were always fighting, always beating each other up. So I always felt comfortable being more around guys, the opposite sex. So it was looked like no, because they're gonna want you and they're gonna want to have sex with you, and which all right, fine.
But you
I'm 38,
see, but
that's
you see
true,
what?
but it's healthy
No,
for
but
you
you
to
see how it's
create.
like.
Yeah,
They
they make everything so
created
bad.
that.
Yes,
they do that. They make it bad because
yes.
you're not thinking about that. Chances are maybe they weren't even thinking about
They
that.
plant
But
that
now
seed.
they put that in your head, and it's like now you're thinking about it because it's like they said it.
Yeah, they plant that seed, and it's like, what the fuck, And for the most part, like my eyes were covered with wool for most of my life living at home, because they try to keep me and shelter me from absolutely everything, and never really told me like how the real life works. You really think that like life is a certain way, right? When you see it in Disney movies, or you think life is that way, and it's like, no, life is not like that. People are not really like that. It's a fucking cold world out there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but I always knew, like you said, I knew the parent I don't want to be, should I say. And I always say, like, if I'm blessed enough to ever be a mom, like, I just don't want to be like, as much as I love my mom, I don't want to be like my mom. And that's one of my biggest fears when it comes to having children, is ends up being like my mom.
You know what's crazy? I feel like I don't know. I always had that, like, I don't even know if it's like a complejo when it came to that. I don't know how to say that how do you say that in English? Insecurity or something?
Yeah, insecurity.
So it's like when I got pregnant at 16. And from the minute that I knew that I was pregnant, like I knew, like I wanted that baby. Like abortion was never even like on the thing for me. And me being 16, everybody was just like, you're crazy, like you're so young or whatever. But I just, like, I knew that it was mine and that it was my turn to like have somebody to protect and to kind of like, I don't know why I thought of it this way, but it was like my way to prove to the world that I was not going to be like my mom. Like that's how I guess
Wow.
that's the way that isn't that fucking crazy? I'm a crazy bitch.
No, I don't think that's crazy. That's not crazy.
So yeah, and then and I lost that baby. I miscarried and I almost died.
Wow.
Yeah.
You almost died, like literally, like you had complications, or you just mean like emotionally?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I literally almost died. And I wrote about this on my blog. It was such an experience because, all right, so I had this friend. Her name is Amanda. And Amanda told me a story one time about how like she got pregnant and she like punched herself in the stomach to lose the baby. And then she just sat in her bathtub and let like all the blood come out or whatever.
Oh my God.
And me being so young and naive, I believed her. So when the way that I miscarried was kind of traumatic. So I was scheduled for my first ultrasound. And when I went, they told me that I was so excited. And they told me my baby didn't have a heartbeat. And I was devastated. They told me my baby, I was supposed to be 12 weeks along, but my baby was still the size of an 8-week-old fetus. So I was devastated.
Had fetal demise?
I guess.
Or they call it missed abortion as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I never, like it was just dead inside of me. And they scheduled me. this happened in March. So I hate the month of March because all the bad things that ever happened to me happened in March. So this was March 11th. They scheduled me for like to clean it out or whatever for a DNC for March 25th, 2 weeks later. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, that is crazy.
And then, but then my body, like, but then I miscarried. And then this happened. Like, I woke up one morning and I was like covered. It's going to get graphic. I'm sorry, people. But I was covered in like water and blood or whatever. And then I remember what Amanda had told me. So I fucking went and did it. And I sat in the tub and I was just letting all this blood come out. And I sat there for like 2 hours and I wouldn't stop fucking bleeding. And then I was like, okay, fuck this. Like, I'm just going to go back to bed or whatever. So then I got up and I was getting out of the tub and I passed out.
Wow.
And luckily my sister was home. She called 911. You know, they took me to good old Bronx care. And I, when I got there, I was really weak. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't make a fist for them to draw blood. They couldn't find my veins to put an IV. Like, it was insane. And then they did an ultrasound and they saw that like my baby was still in there and it was like fine and whatever. But so like all that blood that I was losing was mine.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I was so weak and whatever. So if my sister hadn't been home and I would have passed out or if I would have stayed in the tub longer, just letting myself bleed out, I would have fucking died.
That's scary.
That is fucking scary.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, guys, this is why they call me Dory, because this is not what we were talking about, and this is where we ended up.
It's not, but welcome to the world of podcasting and the world of podcasting and also podcasting with a person who has ADHD. So welcome, guys. But no, it always, and, you know, it evolved into a great conversation because these are like legit conversations that I do like to have because they're in depth, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, for the most part, I've always wanted the podcast to kind of just be versatile like that with conversation. Like it can go from, you can get a little bit of toxic, you can be educated a bit, and you can also like, you know, relate to a lot of the stuff. So yeah, it's a good thing, I guess. But as far as like the story you was telling, yeah, I mean, that didn't happen to me per se, but okay, so for the most, like, I'm gonna say for the most part, but I always knew that like I wanted to have children, right? It's crazy, but from like a young age, I was always very nurturing. I was always told that I was like super nurturing. I was such a caring child. I was always surrounded by like older people, right? Like I was with my grandparents a lot. I was always with their siblings. Like they were, you know, because they were older. And I was always like caring for them. Like I was always doing things for them. Like I was always like massaging my grandmother's feet. I was always like putting lotion on her legs. Like I just like to just be nurturing in that sense, right? And that's just something that like I'm still like that to this day, you know? Like I love just doing things like that. And I don't know, I guess like things didn't play out for me the way I wanted to. Like, cause when I got in my first relationship long term, like I did get pregnant, like within the first year of us being together. And the same thing happened to me. Like I wasn't planning to get pregnant, but I just like one day I thought I had the flu. And I was like so sick. And I remember I couldn't go to work and I was in bed. And my ex used to work the overnight. So he came in the morning time and I was just like in bed in the quilts. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I think I have the flu or whatever. And he was like, yo, take a pregnancy test. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to his head. And I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant.
Maybe he was already thinking that it was a possibility.
Yeah. So I was just like, no, I'm not pregnant or whatever. He was like, I'm gonna give you money, go get a pregnancy test, whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I don't remember. I think he went to get the pregnancy test for me. Excuse me. He went to go get the pregnancy test for me. He brought it back or whatever. And he ended up going to bed. And when I finally got out of bed, like I took the test, bitch, shit was positive. I was like, no way. No. And I remember I remember being like so happy. Yo, it brings like tears to my eyes because I remember just being so happy, Dory. Like, I don't know. I was just like, wow, like I'm gonna be a mom, like this crazy, whatever. So, my best friend, which is his sister, she, we lived together. So I remember telling her like, oh my God, I'm pregnant, whatever, whatever. And she was super happy, So,
Yeah.
I called my mom. I told my mom. My mom worked at a clinic at the time, and she scheduled me an appointment to go in and have an ultrasound done, find out exactly how far along I am. I did that a few days later. But then they called me in and they referred me to the hospital. Funny enough, the hospital that I currently work in. They referred me to go to the hospital because they were saying that there was no heartbeat. I remember the paperwork said no fetal heartbeat. Right? So, yeah, they did another ultrasound because I was like, no, it can't be. This has to be a mistake. Like, I was over here, I'm 19 years old. And I'm like, no, maybe something is positioned somewhere where you can't find it or whatever. And they were like, listen, we're going to do it one more time. But, this is nothing new. We've seen this plenty of times. And yeah, they did it again. And then they referred me to the hospital for me to have the DNC. And I had the DNC done. Yeah, like a few days. Everything was very quick process. I had it done. And then, it was that same day. They actually put me to sleep. I had it done, and I was out of the hospital like later on that day after I had the procedure done. So yeah, it was, and I was heartbroken, yo. I was
Me too.
heartbroken, like
Me too. And everybody was looking at me like I was crazy because I was 16. But it's like I had already pictured what my baby was gonna look like, and then my boyfriend at the time, he was like, he went to this like bruja or whatever, and she like described. She said we were gonna have a baby girl, and she described her exactly like how she was gonna look, and she even told me when she would be born. So it's like when I lost this baby, I was like, what the fuck was that lady talking about? Like, that was all bullshit, blah, 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 whatever. So I ended up getting pregnant right away. And even though it wasn't on purpose, I think subconsciously it was on purpose. But I ended up getting pregnant right away. And I had Jasmine, I had my daughter. And everything that the lady had said about that first baby was true in Jasmine.
Oh, wow.
Except for like the date of birth or whatever. But everything else, igualita. Like, she just described her like entirely. And here she is. Now she's 19 and crazy.
Shout out to her.
I know.
Shout outs to Jazz. That's my boo. I love Jazz. She's 19-year-old me. She 19. She feisty. She fiery. She's a main character. That was 19-year-old me. Bitch is all about me.
She says it all the time. She said, I'm the main character in the story. All the time, every time.
Yo, but that's me. I swear I feel like that. I'm like, I'm the fucking main character. Like, bitch, what? Oh, man. That's why I love her so much. She definitely does remind me of me, like, when I was that age. But yeah, it started off, the episode just started off like so toxic, and it just got like so it evolved into something else. But I do always appreciate the transparency, and I'm definitely I'm gonna say because I want you to like help me with it. We're definitely gonna put together like an entire episode,
a parenting thing.
Yeah, just and now, I recently turned 38 years old, and I feel like at this point, I don't know if it's going to happen for me. Like, I said in a previous episode that I would be disappointed if motherhood was something that I've never experienced. And I know a lot of mothers that are like, girl, it's a lot. And and it's not about you anymore, and this and that, and kids take up your time, and yo, I know all of those things,
Yeah,
but
but you know what's crazy? I feel like, yeah, like all of that is true. It's very much. You spent a lot of time with us. Like you see how my kids are, and
I
it's
spent
a
a lot of
lot.
time with a lot of my homegirls that have kids, and
Yeah, like you see how it is,
yeah.
but at the same time, it's like there are little things that are just like irreplaceable. Like the other day, my son was laying in bed with me and we were watching South Park, and like that was our bonding moment. And I looked at him and I was like, yo, you are a carbon copy of me and I love it. And
Mm-hmm.
then one day, whenever I'm sad, my little 8-year old, she'll come and she'll give me kisses and she gives me hugs. And those are the things that make it worth it. Like you struggle, but then at the end of the day, even Jazz, like Jazz has put me through the ringer. But I freaking love that kid. Like I don't know what my life would be without her.
Mm.
So it matters. It matters. It
Yeah,
matters.
of course. And I know all of those things. I know all my freedom, and I won't be able to pick up and go. I understand all of those things, but it's still something that I would be disappointed if I didn't experience. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think because after that experience with my miscarriage, the heartbreak that I felt, I didn't want to experience it again. So, getting pregnant, even like with my exes, was something that I kind of low key feared, because I'm like, oh
Mhm.
my God, like, what if it happens again? That's my overthinking brain. Like, what if it happens again? Oh my God, like, maybe this is not meant for me. You start overthinking it and throughout the years of my 30s, like, that's something that I've thought about. I'm like, and then it was all about the man and the fear of like picking the wrong man and that man not being ready. But it is like, yo, are you ever ready? Are you even ever ready?
No, nobody is ever ready.
Right.
Even people that think that they are, they're never ready because it's like it's such a major change. But you thinking way too much, girl.
I know.
I think too little, you think too much.
Yes, I
Because
know.
my first reaction was, fuck it, let me get pregnant again. Let me replace my baby. And then I just kept having babies after.
No, I do, because I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't even put it into words. I can't explain it because the thoughts are in my head, but I'm just like, it's just so many things. I feel like everything needs to be perfect. And it's like, yo, nothing is perfect. Nothing is ever going to be perfect.
Right. I was just
But
gonna say
you make
that's
it
just
work because those
you
are the
have
cards
to.
that are dealt,
Exactly.
So
It's
I
your
don't
life
know.
now.
Yeah,
You
I
make the best
mean,
of. I feel like everything you do in life, you have to kind of see it that way. You have to just like make the best of everything that comes your way, even the negative things, because for one reason or another, like you were meant to go through that. And when you get over like the sadness and stuff, and once like the depression goes away, then you like it's literally like the phoenix, like you reemerge fucking glorious and victorious and like a survivor, and it's a whatever was meant to break you didn't break you.
yeah.
I don't know, new
I think
outlook
I think
on
yeah.
life for David passed.
I actually think that was like a great ending to the episode. Like that was like Jerry Springer's final thought.
Yeah, no, for real though.
Dory's final thought.
Hey.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what life is, brings the next, like, if it doesn't happen by 40, then it's just I'm not gonna put my body through that because you're high risk, and I know that plenty of women have gotten pregnant after 40, but at that point I'm gonna be a grandma. So
You so like,
let's see.
I can't wait to be a grandma.
Oh gosh, I love, and I say this all the time. I love my mom, but I fucking love my grandmother. Like, yo, I would not have wanted any other grandmother. And my fucking Scorpio grandmother is the bomb, yo. My childhood, like, with so much darkness that my childhood had, she was the fucking light in my life, yo. My grandparents, like, if like how I said earlier, my my parents try to shelter me from the world and keep this wool over my eyes, my grandmother would take that wool off and be like, no, bitch, this is really what life is. Like, she was always so honest. She was
right, and you learn to appreciate that.
Yeah, my grandparents were honest. They were loving. I got the love side. I was all right. I was raised on survival, but I got my love for my grandparents. You know, they showed me love. They cared. They fucking respected what I thought, my thoughts, my feelings. I can't even. They were just a bomb. Rest in peace to my grandpa. But my grandmother, my grandparents, I fucking loved them to death, yo. That's my grandmother is my fucking heart. Like, seriously.
Aww.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna close it off like that.
All right,
Dory, thank you so much for coming again on Ladies Pitch. I know it's not gonna be your last time. Definitely, you'll be back. You'll be back soon with some more shit when the book is finished, as the blog evolves, all that good shit. You're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about it. Deal?
yes.
So tell everyone where they can find you. What's your Silent Confessions Instagram page?
It's Dory _ Silent Confessions. And we actually, I say we, like I'm a corporation, but I have a business number now. So you guys can text me if you want to, if you have questions, or if you just want to give me feedback, because I write a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure to put all the information, put your phone number, put the link to the blog and all that good shit in the show details. So if anyone's interested, I know that Dory will keep anyone anonymous that wants to remain anonymous. So,
yeah,
you know, it's a safe space, guys. I guess you know this by now.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. And no topic is off limits, clearly. Telling by this episode. So. So make sure you guys follow her, read the blog. It's dope as fuck, very interesting, very informative. And also don't forget to subscribe to Ladies Pitch on all streaming platforms. You can find Ladies Pitch on Instagram at Ladies Pitch and on Twitter Pitch718. So where you can find a podcast, you will find the Ladies Pitch podcast there. Ladies, don't forget, you deserve to be happy and fucked disrespectfully. I'm gonna make sure I reiterate that every motherfucking week. So this is your favorite mommy, your favorite forgetful little fish Dory over there. And we catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Bye.